Hey guys, Trevor Hold here. Welcome to another beautiful Sunday of an amazing week. I'm grateful to be here and being able to be in this bushland environment with some fresh air, cool breeze. Life's grand. Today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about some of the programs that we do in Ember Resolve, some of the workshops. We're looking at trying to create better outcomes for people. In doing this, we've targeted businesses. I've been in business for over 20 years, and one of the things I've identified through my involvement in business is efficiencies, cost effectiveness are very important. So normally, I've been in projects, so normally we look at cost efficient, fit for purpose, ease of manufacture or construction are three big things that dictate the success of a project. So when I started my journey, and I've been doing it now for over 4 years, nearly 5 years, to create better outcomes for people, I thought, what a better place to start than looking at business. Business institutions, government organisations. Generally, this is where we all spend a lot of our time. The average person is spending like 8 hours a day at work. So it makes sense to me that coming up with strategies to be the best we can be could be beneficial to doing it at work. Justification for business to care about people being the best they can be is obviously with better outcomes on their projects or their endeavours, their business endeavours. Profitability is one thing. Obviously, investing in your staff to be the best they can be could help you become more profitable, but also assisting your staff to be the best they can be could help with staff turnover, because that's quite expensive. Because generally, I know when I was a symphonic design manager for the Queensland construction company for a couple of years, that was a big thing for me, because every time you got a new plumber or a new tradesman involved in the business, there's a lot of training up and teaching them processes and procedures and how to go about doing the things that we do. So obviously it's in the best interest, and a lot of investment and time and energy goes into workers, so making sure that they're happy and hang around for a long term is quite beneficial. So not only is it in the employee's best interest to be the best they can be, in their life in general, it's also best for business to encourage workers to be the best they can be. So, profitability with staff turnover, and also there's a big catchphrase. This is a little bit steep here, you might have to watch me. There's a big catchphrase going on since COVID, but I've been aware of this for quite some time. Just bear with me a second, I'll try to get down this bank without slipping and sliding. They're calling it quiet quitting, where people are just going to work and collecting a paycheck, and doing as little as possible just to get through the days. Obviously everyone needs to earn money, everyone needs to live, and this is the society, the modern world that we live in. This is how we live. We swap time for money, or services for money, or whatever it is. So when people are disengaged with the business and not feel that they're a part of a positive culture and a positive work environment, then they just go on about, getting the work clocking on and doing the bare minimum of what they do, which is losing efficiencies in your staff. So I figure it's in business's best interest to get individuals to be the best they can be. So when I started the Amber Resolve program, that was one of my first thoughts that I come up with after spending a couple of years going to men's suicide prevention groups. One of the biggest things was getting men to participate, and that was one of the things, but also for me personally, knowing the statistics, whilst men were more likely to be lethal attempts, women and men had equal attempts of suicide, which to me, and a lot of the messages that we were getting and a lot of the stories that we're telling weren't really male specific. They were more about resilience, optimism, appreciation, a lot of these things that could benefit anyone, any gender. So and participation was always hard to get in these groups. So I thought I'd target businesses and promote that businesses can make more profit by empowering their employees to be the best they can be. So some of these things obviously are procedures and processes within the business structure. So, and a lot of people are getting these on boards anyway without any consulting services from me, but things like mental health days, they're always a good thing to get going. Some of these things with medical certificates, needing a medical certificate to take time off, sometimes stress, or sometimes things that's going on with your life, especially for me as a man anyway, but in general, I'm sure it's, you don't want to go to the doctor and talk about some of these things and mental problems that you might be going through at the moment, and you might just need a rest, a day off, sleep in, just to gather your thoughts or whatever. So, mental health days to me is a no-brainer, but some of these things could be put into your human resources policies. Another thing, and a lot of businesses do this anyway, like team bonding sessions and that, but if you set that up around mental health and recharging sessions, day spas, boot camps, or just regular things that can get staff talking and bonding together and get out of the stress of the corporate or I've done a lot of work in mining, construction and manufacturing, so just changing that environment could be beneficial. So, but a lot of that doesn't really help without going through some theory about resilience, how to create resilience within an individual. Like I said before, optimism and appreciation are all some strategies with resilience, connection to the, and I've done some videos on this in the past, connection to the outdoors where we are today, fresh air, exercise, diet. They all have a good contributing factors to your overall well-being. So also having a good work-life balance. That's also something businesses can look at. So these are some of the things that I look at with businesses to try and help create a better culture, a more productive workforce, ultimately create more profits for the business, but also create better personal outcomes for the employees and assist people in becoming the best they can be. And that's what I'm about, continuous improvement, looking at the best you can be. Things like education as well, courses, qualifications through the business is another thing that... So there's lots of policies and procedures and everything you can work through, and there's a lot of programs you can get into with the team building programs and relaxations, things you can get involved in to help the staff reduce stress. But another one of these things in learning the theory, so I set up workshops, so different workshops with different people, and through the year, I like to do probably one workshop a quarter for a business. If you do that and you sort of have one, you can either do a 4-hour session or a full day session or whatever. Generally a 4-hour sessions works pretty well. In the morning or something, 8 to 12 or something like that, or after lunch, depends on what works. And just go through some of the theories behind living the best life you can. Sports people often talk about resilience and mind control and thinking and all this sort of stuff. So just going through in open conversations really about and safe environments where people can talk freely and that about some of these things are related to resilience, because obviously a resilient person gets up again. Obviously that's a definition of resilience, and we talk about that as a subject in itself, defining resilience and how people see resilience in them or their perspective on resilience. But the last recording I done last Sunday on my bushwalk was about building about complexity in general, and I spoke a little bit about it. But today I thought, as part of the Who Are We podcast I've been working on the last few weeks, the best way to get to know me as a person is to look at some of the work that I do. So today I'm going to unpack a little of a workshop that I do, that I developed for business to create the best outcomes for their employees, which ultimately will create more profit and better outcomes for their projects and their clients. So and that's complexity. So this is a three-part workshop, and the first part is just about understanding what complexity is. So generally we talk about complexity as a group, and go around and talk about what perceptions are about complexity and in your life. and a lot of time it's a quite negative conversation, you know. There's statements like "keep it simple, stupid," or "keep it simple, Stan," or the KISS philosophy. So a lot of the word complex has a lot of negative annotations associated to it. So just trying to talk through some of that is quite beneficial. So I'll just have a look here. I got some of my notes from one of my workshops that I had. So what we're trying to achieve is understanding, you know, knowing complexity and understanding and identifying the types of complexity. Let's have a look here. So based on the discussions around the group, we normally have a projector up, and you know, I'll put a complicated picture of this one here is I don't know if you can see that there. It's just a complicated series of buildings. Obviously, it's not cost effective. It's quite complicated. The most cost effective way to put a heap of people in a building is a nice rectangle building, straight up or whatever. This is why I suppose there's architects in the world and engineers aren't designing these things, because the easiest way to calculate a structure is, you know, squares and rectangles or triangles or whatever, and straight up and down. And a lot of the time, to get something of visual pleasure or you know, visually stunning, and not just structurally achieved, you know, you get architects in there. So whilst that picture represents a lot of people, it's probably not the most cost-effective way of doing it. It's probably certainly not the simplest way of doing it, and it's quite complex. And some of the advantages of doing it that way, it seems on the photo there's more than one penthouse doing it that way. So there's more than one that can have the top floor sort of thing. There's more top roofs you can enjoy. There's doesn't look like looks like living there would be quite fun. It wouldn't be like, you know, bricks and mortar, and there's more trees planted there around the rooftops and that sort of stuff. So there's a fair few advantages to having that structure that complicated. So we just talk about that a bit. You know, some of the reasons why you might choose something more complicated than not. Yeah, so obviously that's there for you know, visual representation, you know, better greenery on the roofs and more penthouses, and you know, some of these other reasons why that might be as complicated as it is. And as a group, we generally sit down and just talk about that a bit, and try and understand it. And so we've already heard about keeping it simple, the KISS principle. I've just got these notes here. So originally that was coined in 1960 by Kelly Johnson, lead engineer of Lockheed Skunk Works, developing systems like the U-2 and the SR-71. So they're the most advanced planes or aircraft, you know, of my generation. The most sophisticated, advanced, you know, things that you could possibly get. So they're not simple. So you need to have, when you're looking at it, you know, like you need to have reason behind the complexity. Like they are very complex systems, and they're obviously built for times of war, surveillance, and they're the best at what they do. So it could be so much more simpler to make a paper aeroplane. It'd be a lot cheaper. Be a lot cheaper to do, a lot simpler to do, a lot easier to do. But would it achieve the same results? I don't think so. So you need to have fit for purpose complexity that's fit for purpose based on what you're trying to achieve. So obviously a paper airplane is not going to achieve the surveillance of one of them big complex war machines. So sometimes complexity is required, and there's pros and cons with all the complexities, So when we look at them planes versus paper planes, and this is another conversation we have in our groups, talking about the advantages and disadvantages of the complexities in them machines. So understanding our purpose and what we're trying to achieve is a big part of complexity. So when we look at it, our lives in general, the amount of intended complexities need to align with our goals. So we talked about goals in prior videos, and I'm not a big fan of them, but a lot of people like SMART goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timing. And I think it's pretty well recognised that they're the most beneficial for us. I just like to be better than what I was yesterday, so my SMART goals keeps changing every day. But for the sake of complexities, so the amount of intended complexities need to align with our goal. And it is difficult to set effective goals unless we understand our values, what are our core values. And that's what I like so much about this podcast that I started, the who are we and what do we stand for question that I ask people, because it gets people to consider, who are they, what do they stand for, what are their values, what are their core beliefs. Because I think by understanding ourselves better and understanding who we are better can help so many aspects of our life, goal setting, boundaries, all these things can be beneficial just by understanding who we are as individuals. So that's why I'm really enjoying this podcast at the moment and listening to different people's perspectives. So this workshop that we're talking about complexities and understanding complexities is not a deep dive into values. That's another whole workshop, another whole discussion. But basically, for the sake of this conversation and the sake of this workshop, our goal is well-being. We're talking about adding complexities to our life, but specifically to service our personal well-being, which is opposite to what most people say: regress. So based on this, so we're looking at adding complexities to our life to create better outcomes in the service of our personal well-being. So we talk about that a little bit in the groups, and part of that conversation comes to the point where we start looking at identifying different types of complexities. Bear in mind, this is just a simple summary of a 4-hour workshop. So it's just intended to give you a bit of an idea of some of the content that I do. Just to let people know who I am. I feel a lot of my work that I do is a good reflection on who I am, and that's why I'm doing the work that I do. So basically, we've looked at complexity can be 4 main categories, if you like, or 4 types of complexities that I've identified. There might be more. There probably is more. But we look at process, capacity, diversity, and emergent as types of complexities. So when we look at process, so making room for review, peer review in a process. So creating processes, procedures and policies around achieving something. So I'm a simple man, so I used to do a lot of design drawings. So a process in place for that would be like pre-approval. You go through your revisions and you go through all your pre-approval stage, and you go, Rev A, Rev B, Rev Z, C, rah, you get it up to a certain stage and you get it engineered, checked with an engineer, and then you rev it up to Rev 0 issued for manufacturer, and then you have revisions from that. So that's a whole process. It would be much easier just to issue it straight for construction, but obviously that doesn't lead to good outcomes without going through some sort of peer reviews and going through the process of creating that drawing for construction, because you're going to miss out on improvement opportunities, you're going to miss out on cost efficiencies, and you mightn't get the best possible outcome that you can get. So creating process complexities, so making room for review, feedback and modification, making room for multiple pathways to engage. So if there's, for example, if you want to go from A to B and you have one path to get there and there's a bushfire there or a flood there, you can't get there. So if you have several ways of getting there, then you're more likely to do that. So in the building code, they talk about egress and regress, 2 ways for you to remove in an emergency situation. So that's like a process, an added complexity for better outcomes. So in an emergency, you want everyone to get out safely. So creating more than one path to get out safely, in case the emergency is on one of the paths that's there, you can always come out and survive if you go another way. So that's a process. A personal discipline is a process as well. So creating processes as a complexity. So the other one is capacity. So a business owner, for example, a director versus an employee. So that's a capacity issue. So some people don't have the drive, or don't have the desire, or don't have even the intellectual resolve to run a business, and they're quite happy just being an employee. Simple people that they might just like doing that. Hey. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. So some people could, get bored easily being an employee, so they start doing entrepreneurial stuff, so it just depends on the capacity of the individual and what they want to achieve. So, and even if you're an employee, to get stimulation from work, you might choose to do volunteer work, for example, or another one could be you might build on your social networks. So another complexity is diversity. So diverse financial plans. We've all heard about not putting all our eggs in one basket. So it's harder or more complex to manage 3 or 4 baskets of eggs. It'd be easier just to manage one basket of eggs. You can watch that basket pretty easily, but if that market crashes or whatever that basket represents, that pile of eggs represents, then you're going to lose so much more. So diversity in investment is one thing. So diverse sources of information. So if we relied on Google for all that information for everything, God knows what the world would turn out like. But making sure you got credible information and multiple sources to verify stuff, reputable sources. So diverse range of sources. And also diverse plans and activities, doing different things. So that's all about diversity. And the other one is an emergent complexity. So recently there's been floods and fires and natural events that create complexity in our lives. Our house might burn down, or a house might get washed away or flooded, or all our furniture destroyed, or different natural environmental things may happen that are outside of our control. So they've been emerged into our lives through no fault of our own. So that's the complexity that's been thrust upon us that we have to deal with, and makes our lives more complicated trying to deal with that. So that's basically the 4 types of complexity. So basically we've got process, capacity, diversity, and emergent complexities. So we spent a bit of time and going through that and seeing if anyone can give any examples on that, specifically to their lives or whatever. So part of them discussions would be, where would you put some complexities in your life to create some resilience? Where would it benefit you to build complexity in your life? So, some people might like to develop their social networks, or get some diversity in their activities, with what sports they play, or whatever. It might be a summer and winter sport, and then sort of things. So generally just getting dust in my mouth. So generally, we just talk about that, and then what's next? So this first one was just about understanding complexities, and mainly just going through the types of complexities and understanding where they come from and what they are, just from a definition point of view, and where it could benefit individuals to create some complexity in their life to get better outcomes. So also, I'm not Robinson Crusoe with this sort of thinking. Complexity theory, or science of complexity, stems from systems theory or systems therapy. There's Dr. Terry Anderson from Canada, Theories for Learning with Emerging Technologies. Elements of system and theory therapy initially come from founders of Ludwig and Humberto, who were biologists in the 1960s. So there's a lot of principles of systems theory have been used in psychology to explore and explain behavioural patterns. This approach was spearheaded by several individuals, including Gregory Bateson, Murray Bowen. So I also go through and try and provide evidence or supporting research and documentation on a lot of my work as well. So a lot of things that people are going through, or people have felt and going through similar situations before, and often we aren't Robinson Crusoe in our endeavours and our beliefs and our thought process, and often others have thought similarly in the past and done research on it. So it's just trying to acknowledge all that research and also identify it to my way of thinking or to my programs. So I always try and provide that sort of background and that sort of evidence-based stuff along with it. So that's basically complexity, one of my workshops. That's the first one, understanding complexities. So that would be about a 4 hour workshop, probably about 10 people in it could go through that sort of content. Don't really want much more than 10 people in a group at a time. So anywhere from 3 or 4 people up to 10 sort of thing is probably ideal. Obviously we can work with whatever we got and we do our best, but that's one of the Amber Resolve programs, and I hope not only have you enjoyed the scenery and enjoyed the walk with me, but you've got to know me a little bit better and understand some of the work that I'm doing in my Amber Resolve programs, solely based on creating opportunities for people to be the best they can be. So guys, thanks very much for being with me today, and if you're interested in learning more about complexities, feel free to reach out. I'm available anytime, and I'm happy to give you more information or talk to you about how you can get your business involved in some of these workshops. Thanks very much. Have a great day. See you. Bye.